Hello and welcome. Do you feel called to market your services with heart and empathy? Then you're in good company today. I'd love to introduce you to my friend and colleague, Jonah Richman, and we're going to have a conversation about ways of marketing that can leave us feeling really good. Jonah helps coaches, healers, and heart centered educators to attract clients and students online. He's been studying online marketing since 2012, and Jonah has led over 100 in person and online workshops. And I've attended some of those, and they are really enjoyable. Jonah is also a trainer in compassionate communication, which is a modality that emphasizes authentic self expression and empathic listening. So he combines this compassionate communication with ethical marketing strategies to create a unique style of marketing that is perfect for solopreneurs who have strong needs to be authentic and respectful as they promote their business. So, welcome, Jonah. It's really good to be here with you today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is really fun, Liesel.
Awesome. So, for those of our audience who don't know me yet, I'm Liesel and I work with sensitive introverts who want to be out there in the world to promote their business, but they don't feel so comfortable in the spotlight. So, I help them to be more comfortable. And most of those sensitive people I work with are really averse to manipulative marketing that they might have learned in so many places. They just don't want to feel pushy or sleazy or salesy, which can so often happen. And I know, Jonah, that you are similar. So, for background, can you start off maybe by telling us your definition of authentic marketing versus manipulative marketing?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a great place to start. And I think to get there, I just want to share a little bit about how I got here. So I actually grew up um, with like when I was young, I had really intense social anxiety, and I would like when I was in high school and junior high, I would walk through the halls and I would feel tense and I had like a little bit of a stutter. And so I was kind of afraid to speak. Like I was afraid to express myself and I thought that I was going to sound stupid and people weren't going to like what I had to say. And and in my early 20s, I went through a pretty intense heartbreak, a very intense heartbreak, and it got me into personal growth and primarily compassionate communication, nonviolent communication, and and so which is a practice that really emphasizes authenticity and vulnerability as a way to really in a sense like heal our emotional selves and heal the way that we relate to other people. And for me, I found it really healing. Like it was just I just went through a lot of transformation at that time in my life, and I got so excited and passionate about that work that I started teaching workshops and doing coaching. And that's when I started studying marketing. And I think like a lot of us who kind of lean more towards really enjoying empathy and authenticity, and we don't like a lot of the kind of facade that a lot of people put on, can be turned off by a lot of marketing out there. um, and so I definitely was. And so I started to, as I was trying to figure out like, okay, so I do want to do a business, I do want to market, but how do I do it in a way that leaves me feeling good? And so I had to sift through a lot of different. I mean, there's so much out there, different marketing courses and trainings and coaches. Um, and I even tried some things that I didn't really feel super aligned with, just because I thought that that was the only way to do it. That was the way that they said, "Oh, this is how you make it work, and this is how you make lots of money."
Mhm.
Um, but I just kind of kept going and I kept trying to stay connected with myself. And so I ended up finding educators and coaches who I felt like I could really align with, that taught marketing and sales in ways that just really like got in touch with the authenticity that I really believe in. Um, And so I started to use those, and I started to really develop my understanding of just basic principles of marketing and sales. And I ended up, through that, I was able to sell coaching in a number of different niches, because it took me a while to really find, like, this is the place that I'm meant to be. Um, but but yeah, that it can really work, that it is really possible to sell our services and make money as in really authentic ways, where we don't have to feel like we're losing authenticity. And so, to get to your question of, like, what is it that's like inauthentic or manipulative marketing? um, Part of the way that I do my business model is I do marketing research interviews, like a lot of them. And and it's just like an ongoing practice. It's how I connect with new people. And the thing that one of the questions that I always ask them is, what are some, or are there any marketing methods that you've seen online, or even been taught, that you feel like are manipulative, or just make you really uncomfortable? And the most common thing that people respond is, I mean, people have different words for it, but it's like, it's a type of marketing where people are making really big promises, like they're really hyping up their what they're selling, and then it doesn't feel like it delivers. So things like I'm going to help you make six figures in 2 weeks or something, or like I'm going to help you lose a ton of weight in like a few days, or things
Right.
that just like there's so much of it out there, but it's making these promises that just sort of feel a little off. um and so that's how I define it. I like to think of it as like the um so like in the past, there used to be people who uh would like travel around, and um what do you call it, like the snake oil salesman.
Yes.
And so they would basically go from town to town and sell snake oil. And the way that they were able to do that was that they would claim that it would would solve all of their problems. Like, this is going to heal every ailment that you could possibly have. and then so they would sell it, and then of course the people would realize that it's not, like, this doesn't work, like, this is like, we got scammed. But the reason why they're able to have a business that way was because they kept traveling from one place to the next. So they kept finding new people to buy the thing that didn't actually work, because those people didn't know that it didn't work yet, and the people who did weren't really communicating with the people who didn't know yet. And I think that's one of the problems with online marketing, is because the online world is, we've come into this place where there's so many people now that we all have access to sell our services to, that people have been able to get away with this type of marketing, where the majority of their clients or students or people they sell to are not, feel like they didn't really get what they thought they were going to get. But they're able to keep those businesses going for a long time, because they can keep finding new people who don't know the people who ended up not being happy with what they got.
Right.
But because they use a lot of hype marketing, they're able to to keep going. And so I think it's just like so prevalent online, and I think it's really, really important for us to acknowledge that that's happening, and be able to not do that for a lot of reasons.
Mm. Gosh, I so love the two big things that I got from that is how you have to keep running if you're a snake oil seller. You
Right.
can't go back to the people, and it's something that was in your bio. How can you market while respecting the person that you are presenting your offer to? And there
Mhm.
is no ways that there can't be mutual respect if you're doing that to a person, like selling them something full well knowing it's not going to work or not going to deliver on every promise. Maybe it works for one thing,
Right.
and then you have to run and go and find a new audience. So you can't build referrals this way. You can't build a good name. Your business is not going to expand because of how much people loved you. And you have to keep working so hard to find new customers who don't know the old ones.
Hmm. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, that's the thing. I think it's like they, some people are able to make a lot of money this way. It's like, I'm just going to tell people exactly what they want to hear. I'm going to make these big promises, and then they make a lot of money, and then they encourage other people to do it, and it just becomes prevalent, but it doesn't it doesn't lead to a real sustainable business, because like you said, it's like we get more referrals, we get people who want to keep working with us for a long time. And so while it's like we when we're being authentic, we may not get as quick of sales as we would if we just kind of told people what they wanted to hear that wasn't true. um, but that's how we grow a business that can really grow and be solid and have a foundation. One of the things that I know that's important for me, and I imagine for you and your listeners, is like I feel really connected to my emotional body. Like I have a lot of I have to take care of myself, or I can get burned out, or I can get overwhelmed. And um and I think like part of running our business in a really authentic and empathic way is it can help us to grow a business that really takes care of ourselves. It doesn't burn our nervous systems out because we're worried that people are going to be scared, that or like we're worried that people are going to be upset with us because they didn't like what we're selling, or all the things
Yeah.
that I think some people out there might be making money, but they have to live with that, with people who are
Mm.
unhappy with them, suing them. And there's a lot of that out there, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, Jonah, that's such a great point. As most of the people I'm in contact with and who choose to work with me resonate with exactly that, as we want to feel good about what we do and
Right.
not hurt other people or harm other people in any way, shape, or form. We care a lot, and
Right.
it's to do with that empathy that we kind of mentioned, and your compassionate communication that ties in so beautifully with that. It is a way of empathically communicating. So we care about the other, sometimes more than about ourselves,
Right. Hmm.
and that part is so very important for the sensitive people that I'm in touch with. Yes.
Right. For sure. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's like one of the things about being that can be tricky here, I think, for a lot of us, is like for those of us and probably some of your listeners, it's like we see ourselves as being really good people. um but it's like one of the things that I think is most important when it comes to really having an authentic marketing strategy and running our business in a really authentic way, is that at first it comes down to our own sense of integrity. Like we have to be connected with ourselves and just choose, like, okay, I am going to stay in integrity. And that could be a choice sometimes. And the tricky thing is, even though it seems like, oh, well, that's just kind of who we are, I know I've experienced it, and I think a lot of people have, where it's like you start to, when we're running businesses, we can get stressed about money. Like people can get to a place where it's like, oh, I don't have enough money, and then all those other like being inauthentic starts to look appealing. If it's like, oh, well, if that's going to make me more money, if I'm going to say, if I just said this thing, then more money will come in. um
mm,
and so it can be really easy to lose our center or our alignment. And so I think it's like it's really important, again, to stay connected, but then to also find strategies that do work.
mm,
Because I think a lot of people will try things that it's like, okay, I'm trying to be authentic, but it's not really working. So it's important to find things that do, like, effective methods that feel aligned, but that are effective, that do actually bring in enough income. So like you said, we are taking care of ourselves too. Because
mm,
that's like we're not, you know, we are running businesses, and so we have to, if we're not taking care of ourselves, then we're not gonna, we're eventually we're gonna burn out and we're not gonna be able to help other people.
Exactly. That is something that so many of the sensitive business owners that I know struggle with is we want to give from the heart and we'll just do it for free, but then
Right.
it's a pretend business. It's like a expensive hobby kind of business, and we can't
Right.
make the business work. And
Hmm.
then we can't we can't keep doing that. It's not sustainable. So then
Right.
exactly, how do we find the ways that feel in alignment for us, that help us to stay in integrity, authentic, empathic with other people? So I'm so curious to hear, do you have some tips for us, or what have you
um
found works?
Yeah, sure. So one of the main strategies that I use and that I recommend that people use, and this is a great strategy for people who are still like their client load, like they could take on more clients. Um, some people are in another stage where they're working more on creating something like their business is really full already. Um, but if it's not, so it's basically a strategy of offering marketing research interviews, um, to as a way to get more connected to people. So it's like we're all, I think most of us now, if we're running our business, if we're trying to grow a business through online purposes like social media or blogging or podcasting, um, the goal is to build an audience. But then how do we take how do we build an audience but then have more of those people start to work with us? And I found that marketing research interviews is a great way to do that. So what I'll do is I pay attention to who's noticing me online, like who's starting to comment on my things or seeming to be interested in what I have to say. And then instead of just like hoping that they see an offer at some point and sign up for it, I actually connect with them and I ask them if they'll do a marketing research interview with me. And the interviews is so helpful for multiple reasons. Like one of them is that it leads to, I learn a lot from it. So I get to learn, I continually learn, like what are the things that people who are my ideal clients are struggling with? What are they thinking about? Where are they in their journey? So I can stay connected with that as I create my offers and I create my content. But then the other thing is it develops a really deep connection with that person or the people that I'm interviewing. So often when we choose who we want to hire, like if we're looking for a service, we tend to choose people who we feel an emotional connection with.
Hmm.
And if it's somebody, if it's just a stranger online, it's not the same feeling. If it's like, oh, I've really like, I've talked to this person, I've connected with them, I can feel their
Yeah.
energy, then that's, those are the people we're more likely to work with. And so marketing research interviews can create that kind of experience. So when I do the interviews, a number of people end up signing up with me, not everyone, but
Hmm.
some of them end up deciding to become clients. And that's without me using any kind of high pressure marketing tactics or um, trying to even like, I mean, I try and go into those without even thinking of them as like a sales conversation. It's
Hmm.
more just like I'm just getting to know this person, and then naturally they start asking me like, oh, well how, like what would you suggest about this, and then what's your services, how much do you charge, and then it just goes in that direction without me having to force it. I think what I also like about marketing research interviews is it's kind of a safe way for a lot of people to connect one on one. There's so many people out there now offering like free coaching or trying to get you onto a call so that they can just use high pressure sales on you. And what I
Hmm.
like about this is it's like, no, this isn't a sales conversation. This is just like, let's connect as human beings. And so I like to take out the pressure and bring in a lot of what I studied and taught for years in compassionate communication, which is just empathy, like
Hmm.
building a warmth, like having them have an experience of just feeling really understood and really safe in all of the emotions and challenges that come up with their business. So that's what I do. That's what I encourage my clients to do often, is to start doing marketing research interviews. And then there's kind of like some, steps and details for how to do that. But
Mm. That is an awesome thing, because I liked what you brought in there at the end. It's like really about helping them to feel understood. There's
yeah,
somebody who gets them. I've had people in similar conversations where it's just like for the first time ever, it feels like they can just really be honest and tell the whole hard story, and you are sitting there just giving them a chance to be
right.
heard, and you're gaining from that. They are feeling better and understood. And then, like you say, this channel is open. The door is open now. Maybe
Hmm.
not right now always, but at some
Right.
stage they may feel safe with you already to be able to reach out. So, just a quick one on that, Jonah, is more or less how long do you schedule these conversations? Is it like, hours and hours? Is it a few
Yeah, no.
minutes?
So what I've been doing is I'll do what I offer for people is and I'll even reach out to people if they're interacting with me, like I said, and I check them out, like I look at their profile on social media, and I'm like, wow, this is exactly the kind of person that I like to work with. Um, I'll reach out and ask them for it. And what I'll do is I'll just say like, hey, I'd really like to understand better about you and your business for marketing research. Are you willing for me to interview for 30 minutes? And in exchange, I'll offer you 30 minutes of free coaching. Like you can pick my brain, ask me questions um, related to marketing. So just kind of
Oh
do like an
my.
exchange like that. And um, yeah,
That's
that's how I do it.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. So that you've got an hour in the calendar,
Yeah.
you get your half hour and they get their half hour, and it
Right.
feels equal. And gosh, who wouldn't want to say yes to that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, so far, everybody does say yes to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, Jonah. This is
Yeah.
such a great tip. And before we start finishing off, are there any other words of encouragement if somebody's feeling really despondent about marketing, or just have learned all these sleazy, salesy ways and it just feels so icky in their body? A little encouragement or support or words of advice or wisdom.
Yeah. Um, so I mean, a couple of things. I mean, just of course, keep staying connected to yourself and your taking care of yourself emotionally. I know for me, it's like when I'm really focusing on self-care, that's when just like the ideas come and I connect with people more easily. And I know that like that's something that I think is so great about the work that you do, Liesel, is with EFT and just tools like that can be really helpful with that.
Mm,
And then um what was the other thing? I think really like something that I feel really passionate about and I really encourage people to do is to keep developing your ability to empathize um, with
yeah,
people, because I find that as business owners, it's like when a lot of times, when we're connecting with people and connecting with someone who we think might be a good client of ours, it's so easy to want to just try and prove our expertise. Like, look how much I know. I'm going to give you a bunch of advice.
yeah.
Um, but I find that like too much of that just leaves people feeling kind of overwhelmed, and just empathizing, like listening to them in a really deep way can do so much. Um, to build a connection and a sense of safety. And one of the things that I find is like so many clients, people who have hired me, tell me that at least part of the reason they did was just because of how well I listened to them. They're like, you're someone, you don't just tell me what to do, but you actually like, you hear me, you listen to me in a
Yeah.
really deep way. Um, and that's
Yeah.
something that I experience with you too, Liesel, is like your energy, like you have such like a calm, safe energy. And whenever I've had a conversation with you, you take the time to really listen, and I
Mm.
love that's the kind of people I like to be around.
Thanks, Jonah. And, similar here. We've done some sessions together, and the feeling I get is you really, really hear exactly. You read between the lines, you listen
Yeah.
to what's really underneath all the words on top. And that is exactly, I think, where there's such a lack of it in the world at the moment. And when people get that from a person, there's just beautiful connection and a lifetime of trust can start right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. So, Jonah, this was amazing, so helpful, so valuable, so calm, and just beautiful. Like it leaves me with it. Like I can't wait to have a
Oh.
marketing conversation with somebody. If somebody wants to get hold of you, what's your website?
Yeah, so you could find me at jonahrichmen.com, JONAHRICHMAN. And I'm primarily on Instagram. It's where I put out content and I share ideas. So that's Jonah.Richman on Instagram.
Awesome.
And yeah, also I just like to let your people know I'm gonna put on a workshop soon about where I'm going to be sharing my strategy of offering marketing research interviews. And in that there'll be some exercises and times to connect with other people in the group, which is part of how I do my workshops.
Yes.
But we're going to be emphasizing the practice of empathy while you're doing the marketing research interviews.
Yes.
So for people who are interested in that strategy, I'm offering the workshop for free. This is my second time offering it. I don't know if I'll offer it for free forever, but that's for now. It's feeling good. So that's coming up a week, in about a week. So on the 21st, January 21st. So people
Beautiful.
can find out more about that on my website.
Excellent, Joanna. And we'll have that
Yeah.
information in our comments on wherever we post this as well, YouTube and Facebook and so on. So we'll
Yeah.
we'll have the information written out. So thank you so much. This was so fun and so just wonderful connecting with another human being who cares about others as well. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your
Yeah. Awesome.
wisdom,
Yeah. Thank
Jonah.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Liesel. This was fun.
welcome. And thank you to our listeners. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day and week ahead of you.